Right, value versus money. Let's say you go from $10,000 a year to $20,000 a year. So a $10,000 a year jump up in value. That's huge. That's going to have a really big impact, generally speaking, on your living standard. Now, let's say we go from $20,000 a year to $40,000, so another doubling. That also is going to be quite huge, but not as huge. So basically, the more money you get, the less it's worth to you per unit, per dollar. Okay? Once you go to $40,000 to $80,000 a year, it's definitely worth something to you, but it's nowhere near as revolutionary as going from $20,000 to $40,000 a year. Now, if you earn your $40,000 to $80,000 a year by working extremely hard, like not doing 30, 40 hours a week, but instead more like 50, 60, then needless to say, although your material living standard has gone up, your ultimate bottom line, your existential living standard, starts to go down. I mean, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? It's common sense. So, what is the optimum? That's the question. That's the question we all ask ourselves. Of course, the work-life balance thing. And of course, only you can answer it, because only you know what your priorities are. But that natural optimum, what's considered the general social natural optimum, is an important question for governments to ask, because that's generally where people are going to go. Now, what's the big deal with that? The big deal with that is that if that natural optimum is too far down towards the left, then people aren't going to work very hard. They're going to be inclined to go for like 30-hour work weeks, not 40-hour work weeks. Remember, the government gets about 20 to 40% cut on every dollar you earn. So they can't have that if their dependency on the tax base is too high. For example, in New Zealand, our biggest costs, what are they? They're pensions and health costs for the elderly. So we need a massive tax base to cater for that. And we're also going to need more of a tax base because we have got the enormous amount of debt servicing going on now due to the COVID-19 disaster. So what does the government want to do? They want to get that natural optimum and take it higher up, make you work harder. Remember, they get that big cut on every dollar you earn. So when they need that money, they need the money. That's a bit ugly, of course, effectively relating to people like tax slaves, but the government is somewhat forced to. That's sort of like the nature of the game. And the way in New Zealand, they've made us tax slaves, so to speak, is by artificially increasing the cost of housing by a factor of anywhere from 2 to 4. We pay enormous mortgages and enormous rents in New Zealand. And that has the effect of driving up that natural optimum to make us work really, really hard, as we do. Right, here's an idea I had. I won't go into details with this, but you can Google for this, eliminating financial hardship in New Zealand. It's an idea that can reduce the cost of housing and the cost of living quite radically, down to $170,000 house that you can have kids in and ultimately even die in. The government naturally will not want this sort of initiative to happen if it has the effect of driving the cost of living right down, as it would do. Because again, they can't really afford to have an economy of people working 30 hours a week when they need them. The tax base demands much more than that. So, they don't want you going down, natural optimum, they want you going up once again. Is there a better way? Is there a better way to get that high tax base in to cover our basic needs without turning everyone into, workaholic, taxaholic slaves? I believe there is. We can do it through massive immigration by selling New Zealand to the world. And we can do that with immigration. New Zealand is grotesquely underpopulated compared to its potential. Between Auckland and Bay of Islands, we could easily put maybe 20 million people in there, with highly affordable housing in the most beautiful scenic areas. Now, if we have high demand for people coming into New Zealand, then that means we can be very choosy with the kind of immigrants we bring in. I mean, there's nothing wrong with mass immigration if you've got the right people. And if we have 20 million people coming into New Zealand, over time, of course, that will dilute the retired population. They'll tend to be young, productive, intelligent people. and the industry and catering for them, for building all the new infrastructure for them, with massive economic growth in that alone. So that's the other alternative, something to think about. We can also do it in a environmentally sustainable way as well, but that's another story. Okay, thank you.